So this is a piece of heat-treated Jasper from Georgia. Georgia Jasper, 500 degrees. I started pecking on it, see if it was okay. It might be cracked on the inside, but it looked interesting, so I'm going to do a video. We'll see how it works out. I started pecking on it with indirect percussion, so I'm just going to continue. This is sort of a rock challenge. I got this from Jeff Head, right? So if he's watching, I know he likes to see the results of the heat treats. So I think you'll enjoy this one if it works out. Let's see, let me adjust the camera here. Hold on. Okay. So I'm just going to remove a lot of this mess first, not really paying attention to the shape. And then once I have an idea of where the good stone is, then I can start shaping it toward the direction of an arrowhead. Or a little dart point, or just a simple blade. This is copper, by the way. Some people are getting confused. They're thinking I've switched back to steel. I'll show you the difference how it looks on video. Hold on. All right, you can see the difference between copper and steel, right? Hopefully everyone can see the difference between the copper and the steel, right? I've gotten a couple guys, or more than a couple, that asked me, why are you, looks like you switched back to steel. No, I've been using only copper in the latest videos. Yeah. Now, if you're watching older videos, make sure you look to see how old it is, because I've used all kinds of different metals. All right. Currently, I'm using copper for these indirect rods, and they're all 12 inches long. This one is 3/8. I use anything between 1/4 inch and 3/8 for these rods. I haven't gone thicker because it's a little bit heavy. If you hit a 1/2 inch rod, you've got to hit it quite hard to get the flakes to remove. So, unless you're using Obsidian. But with regular rocks, especially the raw stone that's not been heat treated, you need to hit quite hard if you use a very heavy indirect percussion rod or horizontal punch or striker, horizontal striker, or indirect percussion striker, or indirect percussion stick, whatever. There's many different names, but they all mean the same thing. Okay. So yeah, I've been using 3/8 inch rods quite a bit, both steel and copper, and they work very well for my purposes. I don't really make too many large pieces, so it works well for my purposes. If I wanted to make really large blades, I might go up a little bit thicker than this, but if I go thicker than this or larger diameter, I'll use aluminum. It's lighter in weight and it has, a larger surface area here. I don't need to hit it as hard, and it works very well for large pieces. Okay? All right. Yeah, I always get the question, what kind of aluminum? What kind is it? What's the size exactly? You didn't say. Where'd you get it? Yeah, I know. Let's see. 6061 aluminum. I get all mine off of eBay. Okay, and I think this one is 1/2 inch diameter. Let me see. No? No. It's not 1/2 inch. This one is 5/8. Okay. 6061 aluminum. I get it from eBay, 5/8, and this piece is 12 inches long. Okay. It probably is 11 or 10.5 now. I don't know. Let's see. I know this interrupts the napping, okay? But everyone asks whenever I bring out a bunch of tools. Yeah. It was 12 inches when I first started using it. Okay. It's now a little 11 and something. I don't know. Doesn't matter. And no, it does not stick out the other side. Okay? All right. I know, I'll get that question almost every other video. But I'm not going to tell you every video because it interrupts the napping. People get all bent out of shape. Yeah. They say to themselves, I'm here for the napping. Everything else is like nails on chalkboard. Don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to even have to deal with it. Nope. Napping only. Only napping. I want to get my money's worth of something I'm watching for free. All right? All right. I know I get it. So this is working pretty well. Yeah, it's crunchy, but I like it. Do I like it when it's crunchy, like peanut brittle? No, I don't like it. But I like it when it's not containing lots of defects. I don't like internal flaws. I like consistency and color. Yeah, the big two. The big two, the consistency and the color. You might say, well, the name. What's the name of the stone? What type of stone is it exactly? Nope, that's not part of the seas. No. It's not part of consistency and color. I don't care what the name is. As long as it's naps. And if it's a nice color, that's a benefit. Translucency, I'll group that in with the color. It doesn't really matter. I like translucent rocks, but it doesn't have to be. This one's not translucent. I still like it. I also like the bland. You know, I do like Georgetown the way it looks when it behaves. Georgetown is such a variable, mixed bag. But when you get a good piece of Georgetown, it's really good. Okay. It's not my favorite. No. It's not even one of my favorites anymore. No, because I've experienced many other stones. And the first question that comes up, well, if you don't like Georgetown and you've had experience with other stone, what's your favorite? I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know because I want to get 5 tons of it. Yeah. It's not that easy. No, it's not that easy. Because that's the next question. Can I get 5 tons of your favorite? And the answer is no. I don't think so. because you can't get 5 tons of anything. Now, you might get lucky, and if your favorite is river gravel, then yeah, you can get 5 tons of it. But you're going to be knapping some hard stuff most of the time. Difficult material. Inconsistent, and sometimes worthless nodules. But you can get tons of it. You can get literally tons. Like, what's an example? You can get literally tons of Mississippi River gravel. What's Mississippi River gravel? I know. I gotta explain everything. Hold on. There's always one in the back that goes, I don't know what that is. I'm totally lost. And I need to know because I will die. Yeah, I know. You will die if you don't know, if you don't find out. Mississippi River gravel looks like this. I highly recommend it. But maybe not for beginners, but I recommend it for people who are desperately in need of lots of stone. And you can heat treat this stuff, and it works much better when you heat treat it. Although, once in a while, you'll get raw pieces that work well, but they'll be darker in color. Is this a heat treat? I think my friend Randy sent me mixed heat treat and non-heat treat. Yeah, most of this is a heat treat. It turns a darker color when you heat treat in most cases. Yeah. All right. What's another example? Because you already know that one. You've been watching my videos and you go, yeah, I already heard you talk about that. What's another example? Because I don't live over in Mississippi. Well, you can get in Texas what they call bowl gravel. And people use it in landscapes, especially businesses. Yeah, if you go online, you can find bowl gravel for sale as landscaping rock. And that stuff needs to be heat treated in most cases also. What does it look like on the outside? That looks pretty good actually, but once you get on the inside, I don't have any, let me think. It does not look like this. Let me see. It just looks like, roundish nodules that are dark. Dark cortex. And I don't know why the cortex is so dark. Maybe because it's been tumbling around in a river. I don't know. But anyway, that's another example. I'm sure there's more, but I haven't been looking around in different states at the landscape supply. So I don't know what's available in your area that is knappable, if any. Most landscape stones are going to be like quartzite river stones that are not knappable. Well, not easily knappable unless you have a sledgehammer and a jackhammer. Yeah. Maybe some explosives mixed in. Because it's hard stuff. But anyway, the hardest thing to get these days is a large quantity of good material. I think that's true throughout the ages in any time period, but especially now. But I've got a list of rock sellers I always put in the comment section. I have a comment that contains rock sellers that I have dealt with that I like. Right? It's not a complete list of all rock sellers in the universe. There's probably a bunch of other guys that are really good. I just haven't gotten around to ordering any from them or getting to know what they sell. Okay? I'm not going to recommend sight unseen. Okay? I need to see what they sell before I recommend it. All right. Now, if you want to advertise on my channel, you just put your name in the comment section. Just say, hey, I sell rock. And just email me at blah, blah, blah. You can do that in my comment section. I don't care. I'm not sure if YouTube cares if you, you know, put a link to your channel or your business website or whatever in the comment section. I think I don't know the rules on that. It might delete your comment. I don't know. If it does, you let me know, and then I'll see what I can do, because I might be able to just write you in. So far, YouTube has not deleted my comments that contain links to other people's rock sources, as far as who they buy from. I'm not going to reveal rock sources that are free. Nope. Because it'll be gone by the time you get there. Yeah. Rock is getting so lucrative these days that you can't reveal any sources to the public, because word's gotten out that you can make money with Flintknapping rocks. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows now. And if they don't know, they say stuff like, you can sell rock for $3 a pound or $5 a pound sometimes, or even up to $7 a pound. I'm in the wrong business. Yeah. You are in the wrong business. All right. But they got to be special rocks. And sometimes they got to be heat-treated rocks like this. This is kind of rare. Yeah. Look how vivid this color is. It's amazing. And it naps like dacite. Yeah. It's not quite as good as the other stuff I was napping from the West Coast, Northwest Coast. I called it mystery rock of some sort. It fooled me. I thought it was a dacite. Turns out it's from Oregon, and it's a Jasper, or it's a chert. Anyway, I'm not going to be able to get this that thin. I know from experience that if I try to thin down this stuff, this Georgia Jasper, really, really thin, it will unexpectedly misbehave and crack and crash and burn. Yeah. Crash and burn. Yeah. That's what it feels like when you mess it up and you break it. It feels like you were, crashed the airplane. It was flying high for a minute there, and you were doing so well. It was getting real thin, and you were flying high. And then, snap, crackle, pop, crash and burn. Yep. So what am I going to make? I don't know. It always ends up being a triangle like this. Make something that comes from Georgia. Yeah, if you get rock from Georgia, you make stuff that's from Georgia. Right? A point type. But I don't know. I can make an art piece. Yeah. Look at that incomplete flake. It's not behaving. What's interesting is, I'll show you something. I'll show you how flexible stone is. See that? It's an incomplete flake. It has not detached there. But watch this. Let me see if I can get this on film. See, I can open up that crack right there. See that? But it's still attached. That means there's some flexibility in the stone. See that? And now it detached and snapped. But you can see how there is some flexibility in the stone. That's a good thing. All right? Sometimes heat treating increases that flexibility, which means the flakes will terminate well. If the flake is flexible, it tends to feather out and not step fracture. Now, I step fractured that on purpose when I pulled it. I was hoping it wouldn't do that, but I think you get the idea. You need some flexibility in the stone. Many times the stones that you find are not flexible enough to create nice flakes. Yeah. And yeah, some stones are more flexible than other stones. And they're all different. Sometimes you can get different flexibility between different flakes from the same nodule. It's variable. You have to make that subtle adjustment in your brain. And your brain does do it. Your brain will make a very subtle adjustment. And many times you won't even realize it has done it. And you can get guys, or you can see guys that are very, very experienced and very, very skillful. And you ask them, how did you do that? And if they're honest, many times they'll say, I don't know, I'm just used to doing it. It's not really a conscious thing on how I can't explain how it's done. I can just do it. So yeah, just because someone has, this leads into another thing. Just because someone has talent in making stuff doesn't mean they understand the reality of behind what's going on, or other things that require a different type of knowledge besides the talent. Okay? Just because they have the talent doesn't mean they actually know what's going on. All right? The moral of a story, like me too. Just because I have the talent and I can make nice flakes doesn't mean I know exactly what's going on. Because the brain, luckily, the human brain is so well developed and it's so efficient that it is able to do things without constant conscious input. All right? And it doesn't need to be constantly directed by conscious thought. The subconscious can do a lot of the work, which is great, especially with stuff like Flintknapping. And the human brain, I believe, has developed right alongside crafts like this. That this is a kind of a different sort of craft in that you have to manage risk and you have to practice a lot, or it's not going to look right. And you're going to break a lot of stuff. It's almost, I guess it's a lot like playing an instrument. It takes a lot of practice for it to start sounding good. I mean, you can technically play the instrument, right, very quickly, but it doesn't sound that good. And then you get practicing, it starts sounding a lot better. And then someone asks you, how do you get it to sound so good? And if they're honest, they go, I don't know, it's just a lot of practice. And what happens is the subconscious has taken over a lot of the functions that you had to do when you were first learning. Like consciously learn what the notes are, how to hold your fingers on strings, like if you're playing the guitar or whatever. You have to consciously tell yourself to do certain things, but after a while your subconscious takes over and it starts sounding good. And with Flintknapping, the subconscious takes over and it starts looking good. And it starts to get less risky. And you start to make flakes like you want to make. Yeah. And you can't explain how you do it, because it's very subtle. Yeah. And it depends on your mood too, in many cases. If you're all frustrated, it's not going to look good in many cases. Sometimes you can fight your way through it and say, okay, good enough. I like it, even if it's a little messy. Yeah. And they did that back in the day, too. That's rather obvious if you look at artifacts. You know that they could have done a little bit better, right? Because some, like, on some artifacts, you'll see that it's beautiful flaking on the blade, but it's got a crude stem. You know they could have done that stem a lot better. But either they didn't feel like it, or they knew that it's covered up by the haft, so it doesn't matter, or something in there, something in their brain told them, yeah, you can slack off there. Doesn't mean that they're less skilled. Right? If you have a talent in Flintknapping, today, modern day, you may not realize that some people who have talent in napping don't make perfect points all the time because they just don't feel like it. But if you only have talent in napping and you're criticizing someone else's napping, you're going to think that they are not skilled in many cases. That's not the case. They could be skilled, but they just don't want to do it for whatever reason. And that, why is that important? Because you have to keep that in mind when you're looking at artifacts. Yeah. Just because an artifact looks crude doesn't mean the original napper was not skilled. It might mean that, and yeah, it could mean that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. It could be that the napper was very tired or getting old, losing eyesight. Could be lots of factors involved. Maybe just getting sick of napping. That's always possible. But you got to do it because you need sharp tools. Yeah, so it's one of those things you have to do. Yeah, back in the day, what are you going to do without knives and stuff? Today, we got someone else cutting up all the meat for us. And killing the animals for their meat is so easy these days because we have domesticated animals. We just go round them all up, and then we have machines that shoot them in the head or whatever. We don't have to do it. But that was not a luxury back in the day. So there's a lot of considerations that you have to think about when looking at artifacts. Now, I noticed something funny about when I post artifact videos, like when I show the artifacts that I have access to, there's not that many views. I've been trying for years to figure out why those videos don't get most of the views, like 10 times more views than the napping videos. Why don't the artifact videos get 10 times more views on average than the Flintknapping videos? Because that's what's important, right? You want to know what the artifacts look like. That way, you've got a background in what they look like. Obviously, you need to know what they look like and what most of them look like, not just the top 1% of the 1%. I'm not going to show you only the top 1% of the 1%. I'm going to show you whatever I got access to. And for the most part, you start to figure out that most of the artifacts are not super fancy or super well made. And they're not even sharp in many cases. Yeah. And the edges are not straight in many cases. I think people are not interested in looking at artifacts on this channel because this channel is mainly for learning how to flint knap and not learning about what artifacts look like. So I get it, right? But still, you would think that people who are wanting to see artifacts would do a search and find the channel, even though they're not into knapping, and look at the artifacts. But no, they don't. And maybe the community that studies these kinds of artifacts is very small. I think that's also true. A very small number of people who actually study stone knapped artifacts. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, there's also a lot of misconceptions and old ideas still in circulation out there, and they don't die. You know, you can prove some things about flint knapping, and it goes against some of these research papers, but they don't retract their research. It just stays out there. And then it gets regurgitated over and over again. Some of the myths and misconceptions. What am I doing now? I'm going to be thinning this and doing another thinning pass. I need the edges to be very dull because this is what I call crackly type material. So dulling the edges a lot helps to reduce the amount of crackling. Yeah. Why didn't I do that in the beginning? Because I'm expedient. This takes a long time to do this, in my view. Longer than I want to spend doing it. So I wait till the end to do this. To be very, very careful and look at the edge and make sure it's not crunchable. Yeah. And then I'm going to start paying attention to the quality of the tool tips more. And I know logically it's best to do everything perfectly from the beginning and not be expedient. Yeah, I know. Logically, it makes more sense to be perfectly persnickety from the very beginning. I know. And it probably is more efficient if you start doing everything to the best of your ability from the very beginning and not be too expedient. Yeah, I know. I just can't operate that way because I get mentally fatigued and frustrated if it's taking me too long. Even though I'm progressing in a very good way, even if the knapping is turning out beautifully, if it's taking too long, it bugs me. Yeah. Believe it or not. And then I start to lose my groove, so to speak. If I start to say, man, this is taking me forever. I'm starting to feel the irritation. Yeah. It affects the flint napping. It's taking me a long time to adjust to being more careful. It's taking me years. And I'm still, making that adjustment to being more and more careful as time goes on. Now, I was reviewing one of my previous videos, and I think the way I learn is different from the way other people learn. Or maybe different from most other people. I don't know. But I was saying, this is a little bit different topic, but I was saying that I can imitate others' methods and styles better now when I have more experience. But if I try to teach other people who have experience my methods, I find most of them already have muscle memory that they can't overcome. Me, for some reason, I can relearn muscle memory easier when I have more experience. I think other people are the opposite. They have a hard time relearning their muscle memory the more experience they have. Right? You can correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I learn it and the way I adjust, it might be different from everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people. So I'm trying to figure out how to show people how to nap in both ways. Like, how do I show someone that has a lot of experience how to nap this way easily? How do I show them easily so that they can pick it up easily? Because if you make it simple, it tends to get absorbed a little bit easier. So you just practice simple things. But as you well know, napping is not that simple. So it's a tough one. Yeah. And I'm not one to sit and just talk about napping. I want to be doing the napping as I'm talking. Although I do lecture type videos too. I need to do some of those too, where I draw pictures and I do a little bit of a lecture type format where I discuss things in more details, like the angles and stuff, and how the striking areas or platforms look, and things like that. I need to do more of those, I think. I'm trying to ramp up the number of items that I flint nap. So I usually just end up doing the flint napping videos only because it produces a point. After I finish the video, I have a point as well. It's two things for the money. Yeah. I got a video and a point that I can offer for sale or to give away. I do still give away stuff, but not very often. I don't have time to give stuff away these days. I used to do it a lot. Yeah. I don't have a keeper case, for one thing, because I gave away all my keepers. Yeah. I did sell some of them also. I don't have a keeper case, so if someone wants to see my work, like if I go to a knapping, they'll just have to settle for what I've done at the knapping because I don't have any keepers anymore. I don't have cases of stuff I've napped. It's all gone. Everything's been adopted and gone to good homes. Yep. Because when I keep them, it just sits in a box. Now, it might just sit in a box in someone else's house, but they probably got a nicer box than I do. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen people's collections. They got nice boxes. And nice frames, and nice cases with all that. I don't have nice frames and cases. No. I just got cardboard boxes or plastic bins. That's it. I don't spend money on that stuff. Anyways. I got bunches of flakes that I collect, so that's good enough. I can make stuff out of those nice flakes. And I feel happy that I got all kinds of different flakes. None of them are very large, but that's not important to me. Yeah. So I'm not going to go thinner than this. What is the ratio? Yeah, what is the ratio? Everyone wants to know that, right? No, you don't? I've been wasting my time. Well, I want to know, okay? So bear with me. 35 millimeters down at that end. What is the thickness? 4? What is 4 into 35? Almost 6? No. 4 into 35 is 8. Because 4 times 8 is 32. So it's better than 8 to 1. Down here. Now up here, let's see. Let's say 28 right there. And then still 4. 7 to 1. Maybe it's a little thicker. 5. So it's almost 6 to 1 up here in the middle. But I like it to be, actually I like it to be thicker right there because that's where it snaps. Right there. When you're hitting it with percussion, it'll snap almost exactly in the middle. Okay? All right. Even if it's a perfect shape, it'll snap right in the middle. All right, what tool do we use next? Whatever I have available. I don't have a big selection. I just use whatever looks okay. And that's another thing I need to do is work on making more tools so I can have a big variety of tooltips for every application. Yep. Right now I'm expedient. I'll use a thicker tip than I should, or a thinner tip, or more pointy than I should, or less pointy than I should. I just make do with what I got. Or, make do with what I got. Some guys have told me, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what your motivation is for using that type of tool, because I wouldn't use that. My motivation is, I wouldn't use that either, but that's what I had. Yeah. My motivation is, that's what I had available in 5 seconds. Yeah. And they go, oh, okay. So don't be thinking that the tools I use are perfect. No. Some might be thinking he uses exactly the right tool for what he needs to do at that exact moment. And everything's planned and controlled. Right? If you're thinking that, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. You shouldn't be thinking that. And you might say, uh-oh. Then I'm looking at something that's not optimal? How do I know? I need to know exactly. All I can show you is the potential, okay? I'm not going to be able to show you perfection. Yeah. So now you know. you're seeing what can be done with the tools that I'm using. And, you know, I try to do the best I can with the tools that I'm using. I try to. I don't always, because, like I said, I get tired of something if it's taking me too long or if it's too fatiguing physically. I'll try to take a shortcut every now and then. I'll skip the tool maintenance. I'll do something that's not that great, or it's a bad habit. Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? It doesn't matter too much. Unless I'm in a contest for making the sweetest, awesomest point, I'm not worried about all that stuff. You might say, well, you can make more money if you just knap better. Yeah. Isn't that the goal? No, that's not always the goal. Sometimes it is. You know, sometimes I'll work material that I like to work, but it's not going to make a lot of money because it's not, you know, flashy material, but I like it. So the goal is, you know, to do stuff that I'm interested in doing, yeah. But also, I don't want to get burnt out in the long term. Yeah. I got to think long term. All right, let's see. I got to fix some of this. It doesn't look all that great on this side. It still doesn't look all that great. I like that side. But as you can tell, this side naps easier than this side because of the stone, right? It's a different consistency from one side to the next. This one was really glossy and really glass-like, like almost like a dacite. But this side, yeah, it's like a dacite as well, but it's just napping a little differently. I don't know how to explain it. It just did. It napped a little differently. Now, a lot of times there's a side A and a side B where you just mess up one side. Yeah, I know. It might have been that too, right? I just messed it up a little bit too much. But I'm thinking it has a lot to do with the quality of the stone. Yeah. I'm going to leave the tip alone. I could thin that down a lot more, but then I risk snapping it off. But I am going to try to make this a little bit smoother on this side. By flaking across into the area with some, we'll try some pressure, see how that works. Yeah, not too shabby. Some guys, they start with pressure very early on. If I start with pressure very early on, I tend to get too frustrated with the whole thing. I gotta limit my pressure flaking. Yeah, sometimes I pressure flake a lot. It takes a lot out of me when I do that, mentally. There's a crack in there somewhere. Yeah, see that? What is that? It's a little crack. You gotta watch those because they'll expand and go across. Yes, it's so tiny. How do you even notice that? I know. But you gotta be you gotta sharpen your eyes a little bit. I learned I gotta sharpen my eyes a little bit and watch that, because those will mess up your day. Even that small. All right, so what am I going to make? I don't know. I'm thinking and napping at the same time. I default to the triangle shape because most of the stuff I make is that triangle shape. And now you can make diamond shape, you can make oval shaped. Like just yesterday I made this one. It's not triangular, it's oval shaped or leaf shaped. This one just seemed to be a triangle shaped one because it seemed to be the best idea because of the initial shape of the spall or the flake I started with. Yeah. And the same with this one. This one was long and narrow, so it ended up being long and narrow. And then I tried to decide what I'm going to do with it later. That seems like the easiest way for me to get things done, is just to do the preforms and the bifaces first, set them aside, and then finish them later. And if I can't finish them, I'll just offer them as bifaces in the auction. I don't always offer them because sometimes I'm greedy. I want to keep them. Yeah. So no, I'm not going to let this one go. I like it too much. That happens also. Alright, so I'm just still picking at the surface. I said I wasn't going to thin out the tip, but I saw a good opportunity. And what I feel is relatively safe, that won't snap the tip off. Now, what would be a perfect scenario is if I were to have a separate tool for the tip, finer point to make, smaller flakes at the tip, instead of using the same tip for the whole length of the edge of the blade. Yeah, it makes more sense to change out your tool. Well, for me anyway, to change it out for a finer tip, or sharpen it for the tip here. Sharpen the tip of the tool for the tip of the point, because the size of the flakes are different. Yeah, but I usually don't do it. But I'm probably going to have to start so I can show you what something looks like that's closer to the quote-unquote perfect way of doing it. Yeah. Quote-unquote. Let's see if that worked. Did it? I think it did. It worked as good as I could expect. I can clean that up from the other side, or I can push on that. Let's see. I wasn't expecting much from the end or the termination. I just wanted to flatten it because it was a lumpy right there. All right, so let's see if I can push on that. Yeah. And then I can send some pressure flakes in there to clean up that crunchiness. Right? Maybe? Do I trust myself to do that? Without messing it up? That's a good question. No, I don't trust myself, but I'll try anyway. Oops. Did it do it? Still a little bit of steppiness. I think it'll come out. Let's see. Come on. That little remnant. It's going to be bugging me. Come on. No, it's not going to cooperate. But I think it looks better even though it's got a little remnant. Yeah. What else can I do? I can thin down this lump right there. With 1 or 2 flakes, or maybe 3. 1 or 3. Start installing step fractures on the other side too. Yeah. That'd be cool. Awesome. Yeah, sarcasm. Should be able to thin that down, no problems. Yeah, to get those out, I'll need to shoot some flakes from the base. That's always fun. Especially at the late stages, right? Is that the best time to do these thinning flakes from the base? At the last stage of the point? No, it's not. It's actually the worst time. But it ends up being very common that I take base thinning flakes at the end. Sometimes it's the worst time because if you hit too hard, you're going to snap the whole thing in half. Yeah. No big deal. No pressure, so to speak. Oh, come on. You don't want to misbehave that badly. I know it didn't want to misbehave that badly. Let's see if that did it. Come on. Come on, Captain Crunch. This is also Captain Crunch material. Yeah. Just like the other stuff I was napping. What type of material is that? What's it called? Captain Crunch, I already told you. All right. Stop messing with it. Yeah. So far, so good. Why did I start using files? I started using them because It's something new. I haven't, I'm supposed to be using as many different kinds of tools as I can. I just haven't used these very much because they're kind of like cheater tools. Yeah. Not that I'm against cheater tools. I just wanted to explore other options. So yeah, I've already explored all the artificial grinding wheel things. So I said, well, let's try some files. See how they work. They work awesome. Yeah. In case you didn't know, these things are awesome. They wear out, but they're still awesome. What angle do I grind it at? Perfect angle is right about there, so I guess that's like a 60 degree. I do that too, but normally it's like that. A little bit canted. It doesn't have to be perfectly 60. It can be anywhere in there. Between, like, I don't know, 70, 80 to 60 degrees. It is kind of good to have that degree on it, but it can be flat also. It depends. Depends on what works for you. Yeah, I know what that doesn't help. A lot of people say, that doesn't help when you say that. I don't know what's good for me. I need you to tell me. Yeah, I know. I need to tell you what's good for you because you have no idea. I know. But you'll get it after a while. You'll get it after a while. All right. This is already taking me too long, so I might just say, that's it. I'm just going to offer the triangle for sale. Someone else can do the notching. All right, let me grind the edge a little more, and we'll do a pass on each side and call it good. I'm just going to take off the dull spots because I've got sharp and dull all along the edge right now because I've been just doing the flaking randomly. Come on, is it too dull? Sometimes it can be too dull and the tool tip slips. Yeah, tool tip sometimes will slip. And if you find it slipping and you're finding yourself trying to create a flake by pushing really, really hard, stop and back off a little bit. Don't be pushing too hard on the edge. If it's hard to remove a flake, just go from top, go in with a vertical flake removal. Don't push inward too hard. Yeah. Even though you're only going to get a short flake, it's better than trying to take a long flake and snapping the whole thing or creating a step fracture because the edge is too thick. Or what you can do is zigzag the edge if it's too thick. Flake this way, then that way, then that way, then that. And resharpen the edge and then regrind it so it's not as dull as before. All that takes time and patience. But if you want to do perfect knapping, you got to do that. Yeah. If you grind the edge too much, it's not perfect. So you got to make it perfect by, taking off the grind and then regrind it again. You're going to lose some width when you do that. But you got to say to yourself, oh well. Perfection has its price. Yeah. All right. Oops. That's not good. A little bit too much. It's because it's a heat treat. Yeah. I didn't make no mistake. It was controlled. Supposed to do that. Yeah, I don't take a flake when there's no opportunity. Sometimes I try to create an opportunity, and that's when it gets me into trouble. How do you create an opportunity? Well, when you convince yourself that that looks pretty good to take a flake. I know I'm guilty of doing that. It's good enough to take a flake, and I make a mistake. Yep. I guess I wasn't so great after all, huh? Dang it. I gotta resist the temptation to make it look like it's a good opportunity. Yeah. Avoid the situation where you say to yourself, well, I guess it was a good idea at the time. Can't understand why I did it. It seemed like a good idea. You gotta try to avoid that both in life and in Flintknapping. Yeah. All right. It's good enough. Yeah, but there's no stem on it, you might say. There's no stem. Yeah, we don't need no stinking stems. Yeah. In fact, you can consider the lower 1/3 of any point to be the stem, even though it looks like it doesn't have a stem. Maybe that is the stem. And I just made a very wide, unnotched stem point. Yeah. I mean, I made an unnotched stem. That's what that is. No notches in that stem. And no modifications, okay? Unmodified stem. Yeah. I know that don't make no sense. All right. But yeah, seriously, you can leave it like this and still, this lower area can still be considered a stem depending on how you haft it. If you wrap it up on the sides, I'll show you in a minute. If you're planning on wrapping it up on the blade, then it's a stem. If you don't wrap it up on the blade at all, then it's not a stem. This could go either way. Yeah, that's a weird one. This could go either way. Let's see what we got. Let's see, we got a box of foreshafts and stuff. Beauty. Perfect. Fits perfectly. It's amazing how that works, huh? So, you know, this could be a stem down here if I wrap it up on the blade. But if I just glue it and then wrap it only down here, then there is no stem. It just depends on how you plan on hafting it. Okay? Just as a side note. How does it look on this? Oh, beautiful. Yeah. It looks beautiful on that one and on this one. I bet you it looks beautiful on all of them. Yeah. No, maybe not that one. All right. That one? This one's too big on top. How about this? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Very nice. So you can get creative with these foreshafts. I like to leave them wide sometimes up here and just flatten them this way. Leave it wide that way. Yeah. That looks okay. That looks okay. What about this one? That's a little bit too deep. But you can still do that and wrap it up on the blade. You can wrap it up on the blade, especially near the top of where that wood is. You can wrap over the top. That way it helps to prevent anything from getting caught in there. I mean, there's going to be glue in that joint, but if you wrap it above that glue joint, it penetrates, I think, in a safer manner. If you got to wrap up there, because it'll prevent something from getting jammed, like a bone fragment getting jammed in there between and stopping the penetration. Yeah. I don't like to leave a lot of wood exposed above the wrapping. Both because of the artifacts that I've seen where they wrap above the wood, and also from penetration tests. Okay. You might say, well, if you wrap on the blade there, it's going to get dull right there. It's not going to penetrate. Yeah. What you talking about, Willis? It's believe it or not, it still penetrates well, even with some wrapping up on the blade. I don't know why. It just does. Okay. But I'm going to do more tests, so I'll show you, so it doesn't seem like I'm just making things up. Yeah. All right, I like it. The color especially. This is the kind of stuff I would used to keep in my keeper case. I hate to get rid of it. Yes, I do. But I got to. It's the law of the West. All right. There you go. That's it.